What's up with it, everyone? LD Alchemist here with two of my close, awesome friends, EA Koetting and JD Temple. How the hell are you two?
Great. How you doing, JD?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you both for having me on here. I really do appreciate it. I'm doing well. Like if you catch me like a few hours ago, I wasn't doing so good. Like I have my moments, I think like we all do, but I'm feeling a lot better now, and I'm
Ooh,
really glad to be here with you guys. So.
were you raging? Because I know that's my thing. When I lose my shit, it's because like I just start getting mad. Then I start yelling at shit, throwing shit, fucking breaking shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have had those moments. I haven't experienced that one probably since like February. Um, Now it's been more of like a melancholy, deep depression, and I think that you probably know more than anyone else, like that can kind of go like part and parcel with working closely with Azazel sometimes. Like you can definitely get pulled down into that chasm of his that that I mean there's so much to learn there, but staying there for a prolonged period of time can definitely wear on the emotions.
Dude, cracking open this cosmic egg of magic is it's not easy. Like because we are literally like tearing apart not just our view of reality, but reality itself. And so this is like and it's not when I say it's not easy, like the repercussions of it, the fact that it's real, that it ripples out into everything, your entire world, your entire
Hmm.
reality, and then yourself. And so it really people are always wondering why black magicians are so crazy, because we've eradicated reality and we don't know where to stand. That is so yeah, depression definitely comes along with this, fucking anxiety, rage. It's like you can cycle through all of these emotions over and over and over again. So
And
yeah, I think
there's gotta be an output, regardless, when it comes to those emotions, exactly what you're saying, like if there's not any creative way to express that, and that's why I think with magic we
Mm.
do things to such an extreme, is because that's a way to express energy inside that might be flustered or whatever else, and be able to expand that out, and it's able to echo to help us out in ripples versus letting my anger. I mean, I know what you're saying. That's what I do. I mean, I'm usually pretty much, it's like 90% I'm up. I'm feeling great, but like when I'm mad, like I'm just an animal at that point, just furious. And it sucks too, because you can't really hide it when you're like one way all the time. Like, yeah, what's going on? It's like, fuck, you have to be authentic with it and shit. But damn, I do understand that, man. Like that's why I love the run. Honestly, that's like my one way to get myself out of my bullshit box that I put myself in.
Yeah, I'll definitely be the first to tell you that like I am definitely an animal. Like there's a primal part that has taken over at certain times that I'm like, and if y'all have experienced this, and I'm sure you have, that like I'm scared to even allow or even to get close to that ever again to that degree, because of the control that I had handed over to this primal side of myself, and like what that is capable of doing, like, I mean, damage wise. I mean, it could probably do some pretty miraculous things too, but
Mm-hmm.
um, when it comes out in me, it's usually not a pretty thing. But um, juggling that has definitely been, that and just, you see the things that are unraveling in the world each and every day, and while my own personal life is making great strides, and I'm gaining momentum here and getting momentum there, making personal gains here, like the world is on fire like across the ocean, and so that's something that I have a little bit of a hard time juggling too, keeping that stuff out of my reality, even though I know it's a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. No, it is. I tell you what, it can be. I relate to that totally. Like, I'm making all kinds of advancement, fucking just getting healthier and happier and more joyful and more powerful and more knowledgeable every single day. But then I see the whole world's burning down. Like, and so there's almost like this balancing act of like, it's meaningless. It's I have to remind myself it's all meaningless. Like the whether it's wars or an apocalypse or whether we fucking live in a paradise forever, it doesn't matter. It's all fucking meaningless. And so I'm gonna spend my time just doing what I want to do. And for me, that's fucking ascent. That's magic. That's fucking, and it doesn't matter if the world's burning down or if the world's perfect. I'm still gonna. In fact, I prefer the world burning down because that gives me something interesting to work on. You know, fucking something interesting to do with my power. If it's all paradise, dude, it's like in the Matrix where they say, we've created multiple illusions for you, and the first ones we made a paradise and you guys rejected it. And I do think that the human being, that we wouldn't do well in a true paradise, that we blossom in the heart of the nuclear inferno.
I totally agree with that. I mean, the time to evolve and want to change, it's kind of like when you're talking about that anger, and that's also kind of what turns into like the main conversation, which is our reason why we've changed from our path, from where we were raised and thought we were going to be, for all of us, a sect of Christianity, and how that ended up just like jumping out of our life because it wasn't able to help. And that anger, I'd always have that anger towards that God because of what's going on in the world, because of thinking an all-knowing, all-powerful creator shouldn't allow these things that are going on. And these different construction, these different places of worship, all the people there are all just two-sided individuals. They're living a facade, playing a facade, and not answering different questions for the truth. And so it's like the whole world's upside down. And so that caused self-hatred for myself personally. It's like, fuck this God, because he's not helping me out in my life. He's not helping the world. And so that's what I think, like magic for myself, it helps calm that rage, because even though not everything's going on perfect in our reality, I do see as the bird's vision, like at a higher altitude, I do see the purposes for all these things that happen. So more people can become awake. Not everyone. Some people are just asleep. But to then bring that whole awareness of what's going on so we can do that massive shift. And I do definitely see that. But it's not going to church. It's about fucking taking my shit into the circle and whatever ritual I need to do and getting that revelation about myself. And I don't know. I just find like the only way to help out off balance what the reality is going on the outside is knowing that when I throw a rock into that pond, it's going to echo like that, forever. So how about I make a good goddamn echo,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, this is whether the world's going crazy or not, this is such a crazy cool experience. Just to like you say, have that bird's eye view and go, well, wait a minute, like, of all the different ways that everything could have assembled itself, it's actually miraculous that the molecules came together and that fucking shit formed, that anything formed. And then even from that, like, that we formed, that we're conscious, that we're actually God embodied. We're these monkey men with God's minds. And it's really a crazy, like, it's we shouldn't be here at all. Like, that's one of the things that's really interesting about what Azazel has told me. He's like, because I'm like, oh, you're gonna give me a weapon. He's like, I'm not gonna give you a weapon, son. You are the weapon. You shouldn't be here. You're an impossibility that was injected into this reality. You're my weapon against the system. And I was like, oh, I love it. Let's go to work.
Well, ancient history really does pull back into, I mean, that was a part of my whole change and everything else with my spiritual path, is as I look farther back into the Sumerian and talking about the pre-man, whatever the hominid it was, that they didn't have a conscious spark, and then they were given that conscious spark by Enki, and then grew in as conscious beings and broke out of that slave-like system. But seeing that and seeing the empowerment versus this book that was constructed literally like within the past 1,500 years, different parts and pieces were found by different people, and then a council of men come together and then tell me, oh, this is the right story, this one wasn't really a part of it. I know this sounds like this is from the Sumerian tablets, but no, they took it from us. Just like that type of shit. Then trying to compile up this false narrative. And now I know the world sees more of what the government's doing, and they're false, fucking getting their money to push this agenda, this, that, and the other, even though they're more Marxist and whatever the fuck else they are inside the government. But like, we're able to now see those things, and it's like we're finding ways that we're of control and of chains on us. And I really do like the whole process of ascent is getting rid of those chains. And I just have found like when I was shackled like that, and in like the Christian paradigm, the amount of self-hatred, it didn't matter if I went to confession 3 times a week. The questions weren't being answered, you know, they were just more were being brought up. And for me to go to this guy, even though he's really an asshole, but he's in the cloth, okay, so you better bow down to the church, you know. It's just so man-made,
Yeah. And it's made, like you said, that there's it's a group thing, and there's no room for individuality inside that group thing. If you're like, oh yeah, you know, I talked to Jesus the other day, and he said, don't worry about the crucifixion. That's not where it's at. Worry about the resurrection, because it's actually the coming into your immortal self that's important. There are a lot of Christian cults that be like, whoa, no, it's about the crucifixion. That's where he died for our sins. That you start injecting your own like interpretations of they don't. That's not going to be tolerated at all. That's that's the way. What's interesting that I've found, myself and several other people I've met with have had a face-to-face vision of Jesus. And every single one of them has shortly after been excommunicated from whatever church they're in.
Wow.
So, because the church doesn't want actual prophets in their church, that disrupts the entire system. And then like the occult and black magic specifically flips that around. It's like, it doesn't matter what I tell you to do, find out for yourself. It doesn't matter what the demons want from you. What do you want from the demons? It doesn't, you know, and you're actually turning around to bring that ownership back to yourself.
And knowing that you're worth what you're asking.
Yeah.
You know, that's the biggest thing too. It's like that really shapes you up as a person. Like Belial is not going to give a fuck unless you stand up and assert yourself, because that's what he's all fucking about, you know, and that self-empowerment. And it's like not till those dark nights that I really had that change of the essence, not only just who I am, but like the actual essence of what makes me who I am, going through those processes. And I just found too much staleness. This is kind of inside of a thought burning, you know, thought process of a dogma, versus realizing that there is some truth into what the book's saying. But you can't tell me, if I told you I knew all the rules of the game and I'm never going to change, and then I'm doing some evil bullshit to you, and then I say, you know, hey, I'm an all-loving creator, you know, it just doesn't make sense. All those Bible verses in the past, I remember you had a video that was up like 8 years ago, man, and EA, and I just was blown away on all the verses talking about, you know, killing all the men and take the women as slaves and the children as slaves. And then you can rape this woman and then give their fucking father 60 pieces of silver, and then she can be your wife. It's like, dude, that God cannot just change. And then you're getting mad at people from Islam for their God, and because you think it's so carnage. Like, let's look at the big schema picture. And if you say that God changed from the last to this, you know, Old Testament to New, that doesn't make any sense, because now the God is from all loving, all this, everything else on top. It's just fundamentally does not add up, especially when you learn about other cultures and religions. And that's also why I think people are so like charged spiritually to hate. Like Christians and Islam have such kind of like a war kind of back and forth with each other from that shit. And it's like, once again, that God's just getting the sacrifice on the bloodline. I mean, on the field of battle all the time anyways. It's just, it really is a dark war. And when you find the truth, you realize, at least in my heart, I feel as if I'm fighting on the good side, but it's just, everything's demonized, you know?
I know when I was in the Catholic Church, it definitely felt very, very dark. And my time there was very strange. And it was like later on in my life. Because, you know, like EA, I was primarily Mormon when I was younger, and I didn't get into Catholicism until, I guess, my mid to late 20s.
Was that your ex that pulled you into that?
Yeah.
Or how, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you sit through the whole thing of like years of being with her and she's bugging you about church and you finally broke down? Or?
No, she didn't bug me about it at all, actually. Like, that was going to be her thing, and we had agreed that we were going to raise our children that way. You know, even if I was an active participant or not, that was what she was going to be doing, and kind of like, I guess, like the kids were her department, so that would kind of coincide with her faith, since like I didn't really have one at that point in time that was really a focal point in my life. Hers was a little more dominant, I guess. You know, I mean, she went to mass here and there, so I was like, okay, you know. But I guess after we'd been married and we started having kids, I kind of felt like it was important that, you know, if that was what they were going to be doing, that it seemed like it would be natural that that's what I should do too, and I should like be, you know, the spiritual authority in my household. And I guess that was the way that I thought I was expected to go about doing it, right? Was to just like plug into their system and do whatever it is that I'm supposed to do. You know, and I thought that it would bring us closer together as a family. Unfortunately, it didn't. You know, I got all in it. I was up in it. I was reading at the mass pretty much every week, and you know, lecturing and that kind of thing. You know, so I was a part of it a little bit, you know, as much as I could be. And I was even going to like mass during the week and some meetings and stuff, like fellowship things. So I was like really trying to plug into it. And the crazy thing was that like especially with that, and it's probably just like that where I was at that point in my life, but the more I plugged into that system, the more the demons like came for me, like sought me out, and were like interjecting themselves into my life, you know, to where I was like literally having like spiritual warfare happening for, you know, for years. And that's where, you know, your videos came into, you know, to be a huge part of my life. You know, you of all people, man, and I appreciate that, because I didn't know what the fuck was going on, and I was like trying to figure out like what is happening to me here. And like you know, that's how I found you, was like through that discovery period of like my life falling apart, you know, being a part of the church and being like, you know, I thought at that point in time, like assaulted by demonic forces. And I was like trying to like combat them using the only methods that I knew how to use, like Judeo-Christian methods of like exorcism and banishing and like holy water from, you know, from the church. And like, I even reached out to them and they didn't take it seriously, like what was happening to me. It was that crazy. But
like you went to your priest, like being like, dude,
yeah.
let's. What did he tell you?
He some really weird things happened during that meeting, actually. He was sitting there and like this was really strange. At that point in time, I was like possessed, and I could like feel. I felt like I was wearing a spacesuit, like a NASA spacesuit. But that spacesuit was actually like a spiritual energy that had like enveloped itself around my aura, and it was with me like 24/7 all the time for like at least 90 days. And during that time, I had some really crazy abilities, like telekinetic type of abilities and things that I can't replicate now, but I could do it then like a son of a bitch. But it, you know, it was really hard to handle having this spiritual energy kind of overlapping mine on a consistent basis for that long. But during this meeting, I was actually experiencing that at that time. And I was able to like read people's minds and things very easily, especially if they touched me. And he put his hand on my thigh, and he telepathically said to me, he froze. So he touched me and he froze and just stared at me. And just, this was probably like 30 or 40 seconds that he just kind of froze and was staring. And I was like looking over at my ex-wife, like, what the fuck is happening? You know, like cut my eyes over at her, like, what is going on here? But the telepathic message was, what are you? I'm curious and I want to know. And as soon as I got that message, he just like in a movie, man, he let go of me and kind of like shook his head and like kept talking. After the meeting, the first thing I said when I got outside with my ex-wife was like, "What the hell was that?" And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "He froze in mid-sentence for like at least half a minute." She was like, "No, he didn't. He was trying to like he was trying to collect his thoughts." I was like, "That wasn't no collecting your thoughts." Like it was wild. But you know, I think that for me anyways, I feel that like this my connection to this is definitely ancestral and maybe even like past life. And that's why I think for a lot of us that are trying to plug into these modern day religious type of orders and philosophies, it's like it's just not really going to work for you because it's something that is never, it's not in your blood, so to speak, to even do these things. To be a slave, you know, you're not a slave. And you realize that through your lineage and through your blood, like that with what they're trying to do now and the way that they are trying to um you know like totally pass off all of these great things and the atrocities that they commit and have committed, like especially the Catholic Church. You know, I mean, good God, the Inquisitions and all of that. Like, I would not doubt that that will not happen again. You know, and it could even be in our freaking lifetime, some shit like that.
Well, that's definitely why the freedom right now, what we have here in America, has to stay where it's at, because this is the first time we've been able to been openly able to talk about any of these experiences, for that matter, or
Mm-hmm.
that knowledge. And I mean, I definitely see it. That's like why we're going into this new era. But like right now, everything is very, it's on glass, as one would say, you know, because like it has to keep going in a certain direction, because if it falls off the trajectory, then everything will become a huge mess and be burned at the stake again. But I mean, just like the savagery of being burned at the stake for someone that was learning about medicine, and then they're saying that's witchcraft. For someone that speaks out anything against a head, they can lock you up or behead you. You know, like that to me is just like such a control for power, and that just speaks to me fear. You know, that's fear for the person doing the oppression, as well as the people that are being oppressed. Like that is the underlying rulingship of, especially the Catholicism, and that's what I experienced when I went to the church. Absolutely. I mean, I was fascinated with exorcism, and I always felt like I wanted to do some holy works where I could come combat and go against spiritual beings if I needed to. Like, when I was just growing up, like Spawn was my favorite aesthetic. Like, I'm a little kid, and that's all I wanted was like, why didn't they're like, oh, it looks so evil. I'm like, fuck yeah, you know. But like it was just something that I feel like it is in the blood, and our higher self knows, you know, the journey that we're going on, that we evolve in our conscious mind to be able to hit these different plateaus and be like, all right, next level. But I do think that we've just always known inside, like that there's something kind of off going on. But you know, it takes everyone a different formula for them to make that gap, that jump to be able to break outside the shell. And I would love to know what it was for both of you. Because for myself, I mean, it took working with Salos, because he was the most friendly of all the Goetic spirits. So I was like, you know, I can make that jump. I can't jump from the Christian god to Belial per se. That was way too much of an intergalactic jump. So I had to inch my way into the waters. And I mean, that for me was the easiest way, because I was able to learn that the spirit, because I at the time I asked help for with some chick I was into. He's like, yeah, that's cool, but you got to quit cigarettes first. And that's so I was like, all right, I'll put them all down. That's fine. I'll change my life. And 3 weeks later, after I quit, I said, dude, why is the girl not into me? He said, because she's not good for you and you needed to quit cigarettes. And like, that was to me hilarious. You know, it was like, if this spirit really didn't care about me, I would have got that girl, wasted 5 years of my fucking life, and lost half of my assets, maybe even had a child that kid had to go through an echo amount of pain because of some demonic being. But no, that's not what the fuck happened. I bettered my life, and I didn't have poison attached to me. And that's something too. People can talk shit about this field all they want, but if you actually do the working and actually like, if you tell spirit every morning, you'll make sure you do a 30 minutes of meditation. Maybe that's it, of being grateful and just sitting there. Whatever your path working is, that shit is gonna fucking change you if you touch it. And if it's not changing you, then you aren't really doing the work, and you're not really making that much contact, you know. So that's just, it's just so huge.
No, you know what? I always felt like, I mean, not always. Like, I think I started to find out as I got into my early teens that the church was just giving me a lot of, that I was getting a lot of broken promises. And I found this out when I was a teenager, but then, you know, I left the church. I did witchcraft through my teenage years and whatever. And then when I was around 20, I went back to the church and spent about a year and a half in the church again, just pulling my life together and really seeing if this is for me. And then again, hit that broken promises moment, because it's like, yeah, if you live by the gospel, you should have a happy life. You know, your marriage is going to be great. You're going to have a great relationship with your kids. You call on the, you know, within the Mormon church, there's a lot of like, not a lot, but there are some specific procedures of like how to do blessings, how to call upon angels, you know, raising your arm to the square and saying the certain words and shit. And I just found like it didn't really work. I remember actually standing, you know, I was, 14 or 15 years old. And I'm going, I have got to know. And I'm studying witchcraft on the side and really trying to figure out, like, do I want to take that step? And so I went outside into my backyard, and I figured, you know, God is of the light, and so I'm going to just be underneath the sunlight. And I had this idea that angels are going to appear to me in the sunlight. And so I raised my hand to the square, said, by the power of the Aaronic priesthood, name of Jesus, I call upon the ministering of angels. And I thought I had made it clear. I'm like, look, the devil's got a path for me, and I can see that path, and his path is looking like it might actually work. Give me something. Give me something that'll show me that this is the path I need to be on. And it was just not only dead silence, nothing happened, and I could feel like a sinking feeling in my heart. I was like, oh man, this isn't where I belong, really was what it was. I was like, now and at that moment I felt like I had to start reevaluating things. And so I spent probably about another year after that, a year or two after that, studying witchcraft and really thinking about it a lot. And then finally, the thing for me was this girl that I liked, Katrina. She was just absolutely untouchable. Already had a boyfriend. She was on her way to just ditch out of high school altogether and go do her life and whatever. She's a hot chick. She'd always dress just like a complete whore, which I love. And so I was like, oh man, this is the chick for me. And so I started looking at, like, how do I actually take all these things and get her? How do I do a love spell? So I start researching it, and this is the early days of the internet. So I'm at the school library, you know, Love Spell 101, and figuring it out. And they're like, well, before you can do a love spell, before you can do any spells, you got to do a self-initiation. I'm like, all right, boom, I'm in. And before I knew it, I'm starting to walk down this path. And then I forgot all about that girl. Like, I got so obsessed about magic, and it just opened this whole world up, that it's like she just became an afterthought. So it was almost like I needed. It's funny because it's kind of like a similar thing that happened with you, El, where it's like you got the shiny object, and you're like, I want that shiny object. Okay, here's what you got to do for it. You start doing those things, and it's like, oh, I don't really care about that thing anymore.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And that's kind of like, I remember about 3 years ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, you did the Gatekeeper working, and it was the Asmodee, was the Gatekeeper at the time. And one of the things that you said during that was he likes to use the hypnotist watch, and then it puts you in this trance, so you go down the path that you're supposed to and learn what you have to. But once again, you find out, like, you're just being pulled to the direction you need to. And usually with men, if it's their dick, then it's a lot easier, you know, versus X, Y, and Z. So it's like, all right, what is actually going on here in the process. But
That's
like
the thing with that's the thing with Asmodeus. Just to jump in real quick, that's the thing with Asmodeus. Everyone's like, oh, he's the demon of love and the lord of lust and whatever. It's like, he doesn't give a fuck about those things, other than the fact that he can use those as the carrot and the stick to get us to do what we want. Like, it's not like he's a horn dog on the astral plane just looking to get it on. He's actually very calculating, and like he'll give you the things that you desire, whether that's a partner or whatever it is. He finds what you desire and he puts that right in front of you, and it is the hypnotist watch. He's like, look at this, look, don't you enjoy that? And as you enjoy that, you start finding yourself going into a completely different state and becoming a different person. That's one of the interesting things about making contact with any of these entities, specifically demons. When they come, they give you, you get an awesome flush of a good feeling. You get, usually you'll get whatever the hell you're asking for, whether that's answers or manifestations of things. But whatever you get at the beginning, that's just the beginning, because after that, they continue to distill their essence into you. They continue to influence you and change you, because I think that's their whole ulterior motive is changing us, making us evolve in a very specific way.
Absolutely. I think that unlocking of your DNA when you're talking about, the black alchemy, like that's an absolute. From my physical appearance has changed dramatically since I've worked with spirits. Like I would work with, the saints, and I was happy I did that because I was able to kind of learn the functionality of kind of summoning up a goetic spirit. Because, it's like, all right, they kind of have their own attribute, their own energy, you tap that into. But it wasn't the amount of change. Like, that was like an answered prayer versus an absolute change. The way and shape my eyes actually are. The fact that I just got rid of all my hair. I mean, you guys have two luscious bits of hair, but my ass, I had to go the J.S. Garrett route. I had to go to shave my fucking head. But I mean, even that was a lesson in and of itself. I had problems with self-esteem, and I worked with Belial, and the first thing he said was, shave your head. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, shave your fucking head. You're going to sit here and complain and hope people have some appearance of you? How about you quit worrying about that and step it up and move on? And, now when I shave my head, I think about anything that's attached to me throughout the week that's been some bullshit. And then I just shave that off and then put it down the drain, And I've heard both things. I heard long hair, it's kind of like you have more sensors with your hair to be able to pick up the physical or astral and stuff. But I've also heard that bald people are really good. Bald people, fucking whatever, are good with telepathy better. And I don't know if there's any nuance to any of that shit or what.
Well, yeah, in LaVey's book, The Satanic Rituals, he's got a couple rituals in there that he's like, you must shave your head before this, and one of them is you're working with electricity, and so your hair could get in the way or whatever. But also there is that thought that it can allow, but whatever. But it is like, I think it's more like you're finding, rather than like one way being better than another, it's more like you're finding your own personal representation of your God self in this form. You're like, how because I was not happy with like my look for most of my life, because I was trying to look like what other people thought I should look like. Cut your hair a certain way, wear the button-up shirt and whatever. And at some point I just had to say, yo, fuck it. Actually, at some point, exactly 2017, I remember the exact moment where I was like, I am not going to the barber again. It's that time. I got an appointment, but fuck him. And just decided, it's like, I'm going to stop worrying about how other people want me to look. That's funny, because I actually had that yesterday. I had a interesting experience with Azazel. So I'm just kind of bumming around the house. It's Saturday, so I just put on some like Batman pajama pants and just this baggy shirt, and fucking I'm just chilling around the house. Well, my friends are like, hey, there's an Oktoberfest coming. We're gonna be in town. You want to come out to the Oktoberfest with us? And I was like, oh, dude, that'd be awesome. I take a look in the mirror and I was like, dude, I look frumpy. This shirt makes me look fat. These pants are fucking pajama. I got to get changed. And Azazel actually came in and was like, don't, just go as you are. And I was like, go as I am, dude. I look sloppy. He's like, Why? You're gonna go hang out with friends. You're not going there to meet chicks. You're not going there to pick up on anybody. You're not going there for people to love you. You're going there with people that already love you. They already love you. They already think you're awesome. Go hang out with your friends. And I was like, fuck it. All right, cool. Just got in my car and drove there in my pajama pants. And that's rare for me because I usually want to look a certain way or whatever. Even though it's my way I'm trying to look. That was kind of brought out to me yesterday. Even though it's my way, you're still concerned about how you look to other fucking people. And that's something that's a continual. Keep dropping that, because that does not matter.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that you just shine authentically and not worried about the shit, which that's the only reason why anytime I have any marijuana in my system, I get a little bit too sensitive to all the other energies around me. And it's not that I'm not like that when I'm sober, but I don't give a shit when I'm sober. When I'm high, I'm not able to override that system because it's like I can feel it and, oh, what's the opinion, all that versus, look, I'm just freaking gonna go as me, and I know my worth, so who cares what fucking outfit I'm in? You know, I don't have to whatever because at the end of the day, I mean, it doesn't matter what mask you have on your face, you're gonna see the right light that shines through it. But I do think you're really onto something. From our higher selves know what we truly look like. Because I actually had I don't know if I've ever showed you all this picture, but my sister, before she passed away, well, that's a whole fucked up situation, but before she passed away, she could always see spirits and see people's higher selves. And it's back when I had hair, and I asked her to draw it for me, and she drew this right here. It sits backwards, a little backwards. But the top here is bald, and then this is like my shitty hair. She's like, see, even your higher self's laughing at you for caring about your hair. And so a bald, like, hey, Ariane, like, I mean, it just makes fucking total sense. So, you know, I definitely feel like that's definitely on to something. But JD, I did want to ask you, with the succubi and incubus, I know that was a huge part of your, transition into, call it Catholicism to a black magician.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know if you could just kind of get into that a little bit more. And because, I mean, after all, like, you provide that service for me, and I want everyone to know, like, that is a top of the line, true, authentic service. And she's been nothing but a sweetheart. She's fucking incredible. And helps me get shit done. She definitely's like, get some shit done.
That's how you know JD's a master, because anybody else calls on a succubus and they are not a sweetheart. The fact that this man can sweet talk the succubus before he sends it to you, hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, hey, it's all Lilith, like, really and truly. Like, it's I definitely just, I'm kind of just there as an officiant of it, but it's definitely thank her for sure.
Mm-hmm.
With that, like, I mean, that's really where everything started for me. Like so one of the first incidents where I had a sleep paralysis incident, and I was sleeping in this little sofa thing, like, across from my wife. We had this, like, sofa thing that was from this really old estate house in this vineyard in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I think it's haunted, but that's beside the point. I fell asleep on it, and I woke up, and I just, Azazel has made it known to me that this was him at that moment in time. I didn't realize that was him, but I woke up on my back, and I felt like I had a beast on top of me. Like, I couldn't see. My head was turned to the side, so all I could see was the wall. But my eyes were open, but I couldn't talk. I couldn't move. I felt like hands on my shoulders, and I felt like knees, like, digging into my thighs. And it felt like, in my mind's eye, like, my third eye was just cracked wide open during that moment. And I could, like, get a really clear vision of what it looked like that was on top of me that I couldn't see. Like, I could see it, like, astrally, I guess. And it was some kind of, like, big hairy beast, and it said, "What are you gonna do now?" And as soon as it said that, before I could, like, even answer it, it was just gone, and that was over. And, like, that kind of initiated everything else that happened after that. So it was like the next day these two owls appeared on my property, and they were just there all night, every night, making noise. They were never around before. Maybe like the next week, as soon as I would get into bed every night, I would start feeling like it was like the atmosphere in the room would change almost. Like it would start to feel like the room was closing in on itself, and I could hear these popping noises. Like, to me, that's like it is like when one dimension is overlapping with another one to a greater degree than normal or something. It creates this pressure and like a pop almost, and like I started getting very used to this feeling, and it was scary, and it would make me start to get a lot of anxiety, like immediately. But I would just be laying there, and I'd feel the pressure, and I would hear the popping noises, and then like on the lower corner of my bed, it would start to sink down, like somebody just sat on the bed, like a person, right? Like I could see it, I could hear the bed creak, I could feel it, all that. And I'm like scared to death, like what the fuck? And like it felt like then, like it just felt like a torso of a person fell over in the bed. Like it felt like a big, heavy, just like a half a person. I know that sounds stupid, but that's what it felt like. It felt like it just fell over at my feet. But then at that point in time, it turned into like this energetic serpent that started coiling up around my ankles and moving up my legs. And like as it's moving up me, it like just starts to envelop my whole body, and like starts to become like highly sexual, highly sensual, like the craziest full body orgasmic energy you could ever imagine. And then it would just like go all the way up to my head, and it would come back to my feet, and it would just do this for like hours and hours and hours. And it would happen like every night as soon as I got into bed. And like then it would start to happen like anytime, like I could just be sitting there like watching TV, and all of a sudden this like it's like a heavy weight. It feels like the thing they put on you at the dentist office to like block the x-ray shit, that heavy vest thing. It felt like one of those just like drops down on you. Like all of a sudden this heavy weight's just on you, and it almost like crushes you. It's like a crushing weight. It'll start to just like push you down into like the chair or the sofa. And at the same time, it'll be like a full body orgasm too. And so it's just like that was happening just like constantly all the time to me. And you would think that, I didn't know what to think. I was like, what in the fuck is going on here? And like, so one of the first times too, like when I really got concerned about it was like I went to bed one night, and so I'm just gonna say my ex is in bed. I don't want to talk about her too much on here because I know she doesn't like that.
Yeah.
But this is just what I experienced. Okay. Oops. So this is just what I experienced. She was laying there asleep, and I could feel like this vibration, and it felt like the whole bed was vibrating, and I was like, what the fuck? And like it was like wigging me out, right? And so I'm like, she's asleep, and I'm like feeling the bed. The whole bed feels like it's vibrating, and like the closer I get to her, the stronger it is. And like I put my hand like up on her stomach, and it felt like it was like inside of her, right? And I was like, what the fuck? Like and at that moment I felt something like push up on my hand, and it fucking scared the shit out of me. And I like woke her up, and I was like, yo, like something is happening. And so like that kind of stuff was like normal shit for me, like every day, like this crazy kind of stuff. The last experience that, or not the last one, but one of the craziest ones, and I feel like that this was a manifestation of the incubi, or the succubi rather, two of them rather, because I think that I have like four of them around me or attached to me basically. But I was on the sofa. Me and my wife had just had a fight. I was getting ready to go to sleep on the sofa, and I'm laying there on my back, looking down the hallway, and all of a sudden these things are massive. I'm talking like 3 foot in diameter, like big, huge beach ball size golden orbs. And they started coming down the hallway, and they were coming towards me, and I was like, oh my God, like fucking, I was scared as shit. And I was just gonna like, okay, I'm just gonna pretend like I'm asleep. And I had my arm like this, and I was like looking out from under my arm, like, oh God, they got closer and closer and closer. And I was like, oh shit. And like they basically just kind of flew by me and they went out the wall of the house and they were gone. But as they went by me, with this crazy static electrical, sensual, orgasmic energy like went all through my body. And I was like going like, kind of, like some movie shit, man. Like, and so, I've had so many crazy tangible experiences, and like all of this was like very early on in my path, and like not knowing what these things were, it made me have to search the internet and search the libraries, try to figure out like what's going on, because the church just thought I was crazy, and most people just thought I was nuts, and so making sense of that kind of stuff when you really don't know what it is, like a lot of people, I mean, of course, everybody wants to have these experiences that haven't had them, and they are great experiences. I mean, they are scary, but I've learned a lot from it. But you have to keep in mind too, you got to live your normal life while you're having these experiences too. And so, sometimes biting off more than you can chew is definitely the only way to grow. And maybe that's, they know what you need, and they're going to give it to you. They definitely hammered my ass, and they made damn sure that like you're going to end up where you're going to end up, and we're going to kind of help sculpt and mold you into what you are supposed to become, because I definitely wasn't on this trajectory by any means. I was a khaki wearing, slick back fucking like businessman, daddy doo-doo, picket fencing, changing the oil, cutting the grass, and that's all wonderful things, and I love that. I love that, but that wasn't my authentic. That's just not me. It wasn't me. I was definitely having to like put on a charade every day, and I think that's like where a lot of people are at, especially in regards to their religion. They're having to kind of like live in two different worlds and like portray this one version of themselves, but deep down, and when they leave that church, they know what they're doing. They know how they're living their life.
One of the interesting things that I've seen is that some of the specifically like students and clients that I've had that are some of the most promising, powerful people are living that double life. And like, I almost feel like sometimes like that must add a little bit of power. The fact that they're hiding it from their wives, they're hiding it from their bishops and priests or whatever. They're pretending, but then when they like one guy I know has a storage unit. It's a whole temple. He goes inside a storage unit, whole temple in there that he goes in and does his shit, and his wife doesn't even know it exists. And like that kind of secrecy, that can add something to it. So. But
I agree.
As long as
that it would. I mean, and I was doing that. I will have to agree, because I mean, I was doing that and had to do that for a long time, and I think that definitely added an element of power to it. Now that I think about it, it for sure it is.
As long as it's not tearing you apart, because it was tearing me apart trying to live both lives.
That's exactly it for myself. Trying going to church and then also having people do ritual cast for me, and I was learning it, that eventually ripped me into two. I feel like there's so much, like I'm not just walking and waltzing into my 9-5 whatever saying I do ritual magic every day, like I'm not just yelling that out, like I'm just being me. But if it comes up in an authentic conversation, then of course it's going to happen. But
when I was just to butt in real quick, when I was like maybe 3/4 of the way through my gatekeeper operation of the 9 gatekeepers, my relationship was falling apart pretty quickly, my last relationship. And so remember we went and took a walk to go watch the sunset together, and we're standing there watching the sunset. And I just remember I told her, I can feel the magic is pulling me. And you're holding me to the ground. Everything around me is holding me to the ground. It's like bolts that have bolted this rocket into the ground. But the problem is the rocket's already firing. It's already trying to blast off. And so those bolts is just ripping my life apart. And she goes, well, that doesn't, well, first she says, I can see that you have some important work to do, but I'm afraid that you would sacrifice everything for it. I said, yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Like that's the point I'm feeling I'm at, that I have to go all in. And she goes, it doesn't make sense to me. If you say you're being ripped apart, like turn off the engine. And I'm like, I can't. I don't know. There's no off switch to make this stop. That once you start this process of ascent, and honestly, I think that's what was behind a lot of my substance abuse and sex addiction and everything else, was trying to put dampers on this whole system, because it was impossible to live both lives at once. I had to make that choice. But yeah, that was just really interesting conversation where she's like, why don't you just shut it off? Why, if witchcraft is causing this, stop the witchcraft. I'm like, if it was that easy, babe, it would be done. It would have been done a long time ago. But like you said, JD, it hunts you down. It hunts you down.
Oh, 100%. What you were saying earlier, how the owl appeared. And it's funny because during that time period when I was kind of going back and forth doing magic, I remember yelling out on a dirt road, if there's anything out there that wants to come attached to me, then go ahead, because I'm done with my life. And then I come back and I started just getting this like dragged down on me. I was feeling like I was watched. And I'd start hearing owls every night. And one night I'm seeing an owl just looking in my
Dude,
windows.
they're creepy, man.
Dude, they're
scary sounding.
Dude, they're like, especially if you look out your window and it's standing, staring in, looking at you, you're like, dude, what the hell? And I knew something weird was going on. But then it was the same time period where I'd see this undead girl that'd always be next to my bed. And I am starting to connect the dots where I don't know for certain if it's a succubi or not. And back then, and she was the one that came to watch over. But the thing is there is a difference between feeling comfortable. Like for me in my ritual chamber, like I don't ever feel like those dagger eyes looking at me, versus like when you're in a haunted place and there's just all that negative energy where you feel like you're being watched no matter what you do, no matter you cover your eyes and stuff. So back then, I just feel like since I wasn't authentic with my energy, it was creating that energy probably off of me, really. I was probably the battery for it, and made it so it was like kind of chaotic, always feeling like I'm being stared at and all that. But I just found that to be so damn interesting, you saying about owls and
so
all
now
that.
I got a crazy owl story to throw in here. It was like right after I finished my my final initiation into Haitian Vaudin with Baron de Prince, I'm driving down the road. It was just like literally a couple nights after that initiation. I'm driving down the road with my wife and in the seat, my ex-wife and my daughter in the back, and it's a pretty dark night. I don't even remember where we're going, but I see right in the middle of my lane, and it was actually like on a bridge right in the middle of my lane. And the bridge is such that like it's got barriers on either side, so you can't really. There's no wiggle room, It's a one lane fucking bridge or whatever. So there's an owl just chilling there, and it was the size of a small child. I thought it was a small child standing in the road in the middle of the night. I was like, so I stopped the car. And get like maybe 10 feet away from it, and I'm like, is that because I'm like, is that a kid or whatever? So so the car is just idling there in the middle of the road. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's an owl. And its eyes were spooky. Like, and not just because they're big eyes or whatever, but like, I felt like its eyes were speaking to me and pulling me into them. And so I was like, what the fuck? And so I just sat there for a second. My wife saw, hey, are we going to go? I'm like, the owl's in the way. So I honk. And it doesn't move. I go get close to it. I got probably just a couple feet away from my bumper before it flew off, and it was and it just fucking boom, wings come up, and it didn't even look like it was flying. It looks like its wings just came up and it just floated up. I'm like, what the fuck? But so I called the Prince afterwards, and I'm like, I get home, and I'm like, bro, I wake him up. For him, he was living in New York, so it's like 2:00 in the morning for him. I'm like, hey, what the fuck is this? And he's like, no. Birds are not just birds. Like birds are not just animals. They always they're messengers. And so yeah. But yeah.
I find out with crows too. But that very much.
The crows have been very prominent in my reality here lately. Like crazy.
Especially when it's just like thoughts in the head. Like especially when I'm thinking about Shemyaza, I just start thinking about the Watchers, and all of a sudden there's these 1-3 that are oversized crows. I'm like, that's a fucking half the size of my leg here. and then they're all there, they fly, and then 4 hours later, I've driven like 13 miles away. It's the same three crows, I swear. And it's like, you guys are just teleporting. You're not really flying. Like, and you're honking, coming right in front of me to do wah, and then go out of the way. Like, you guys are funny. Like, I definitely believe that they're messengers.
Sarah and I have been trying to connect with the crows on our property, and we actually put an altar out in the yard, and we've got like we're leaving food, and there's like various crystals there and stuff, and we're trying to like get them to bring us things because they will start bringing you like really cool shit, and they'll like take what you have to give them. So we've been messing with that now for about maybe a month. But they're coming around more and more, and you know the crazy thing is like since we started that, you know, not only am I seeing the crows everywhere on our property, but I'm seeing them like out and about like everywhere right now. You know, and they were delivering a message to me the other day of basically like, you know, making sure that I'm doing what I need to do to allow room in my life for my magic to manifest, because basically I have to be ready to bear the responsibility that the manifestation is going to require. So, you know, I've really been meditating a lot on that and looking at the areas in my life where, you know, I know that I need to make room and that I need to prepare better, and that, you know, I'm asking and trying to make these certain things happen, but yet I'm not making room for them in my life to even occur, you know. And so, you know, that's something that I've been, you know, the crow specifically has been trying to instill here lately.
That's beautiful.
It's hard to like ask for something for it to be on your plate if your plate's already full, 100%.
Especially, you know, and especially like even having your plate full, but like most of us have got our plates over full. Like, you know, most of us living an American life and working and trying to achieve the things we got and having a family and a girlfriend and whatever. Like whatever, all of these, we pack our lives full, and a lot of it with a lot of bullshit. Like one thing I'm gonna say, ever since I got kicked off of social media, dude, that's freed up so much time and energy that I was just throwing away, just throwing into the world. And as soon as I had that, like I was actually kind of bored and didn't know what to do with myself when I first just couldn't jump on Facebook anytime I wanted to. Yeah. But then it, like pretty quickly, dude, I remember actually it was like a few days after getting kicked off of social media, I was going for a walk. I was just out for a walk in my backyard, beautiful fucking trees and nature and shit. And I had a thought like when I was finished with my walk, I was like, fuck, there was not a single moment there that I wanted to take a picture and upload it to the internet, or that I missed that. I was just in the moment, just cool. Like, and that was a big shift for me, because it's almost like I was living the moments of my life to be able to make a post out of them.
Yeah. Yep. No, I get that. And that's
that. Yep.
Because there's definitely like an inspired message you can get, and that can be great content, 100%. And like I know both of you share your magical journey, your magical secrets, and making videos to help people out those one-on-ones. But sometimes it's like, is the sacredness being given to me for my journey, for me, or is it for me to be able to give it out to others as well? You know, and that's kind of like, I was trying to get myself to make constant content for my Instagram, all these other things, and try to get in that algorithm of shit. But then for me, it hit a point where it's like, I'm not going to make something that's clickbait, because that's not me. I just want to tell you what the fuck it is. It's a real thing. Be authentic with it. And then also want to be doing it. Mm-hmm. Like maybe I want to go to a place and eat food and not test what their fucking quality is of the food, saying, I'll give this an 8.5 out of 10. You know, like, how about you just say, like, goddamn, thank you for this meal and this conversation I had with who I am here having my meal with. And so I definitely, I'm finding more of that balance.
And you know, the thing, because you put a really important question there, like, is your ascent just for you? And I don't think it is. I think we're in a group. I mean, like, I look at you two gentlemen, and like the shit that you're saying you learned a lot from me. I've learned a ton from both of you, and from our interactions, from fucking just listening to what you guys have to say, but also from teaching you. Like, this whole process, none of us are doing it alone. But there's this, what I'm thinking of as you're saying this is, in alcohol and substance abuse recovery, they've got a saying, that you have to do it for yourself first before you can do it for anybody else. So if you want to get sober for your kids, that's cool. You got to do it for yourself, not your kids. Because if you do it for your kids, it's not going to stick. You're going to fucking resent your kids for it. You're going to, oh, I wish I could just smoke a joint right now, but you little fucks, you know, whatever. But if you're really doing it for yourself, then you have what you need to be able to show your kids, or to show your you know, significant other, whoever's important in your life. Yeah, in a way you're doing it for them, but you have to really authentically do it for yourself first. And then the natural reaction is going to be the positive for everybody around you. So similarly, like, because that was the addiction I got into on social media, was constantly, if I didn't have an original thought, by God, I'm going to sit here until I get one that I'm going to inspire everybody with, and they're going to love me. And then I post that shit, and then you know what I'm doing? I'm checking my Facebook every 5 minutes to see who liked it. Oh, dude, it's sick. it's sick. And at the same time, like, because I'll still find myself getting into that with, like, YouTube. I'll watch a video on YouTube, leave a comment, and then I'll see if somebody's commented on that comment. And then it's like, fuck, it's a drug. And in a way, I can feel what it's doing to my body. It's flushing my body with these feelings of that really you should only be getting from a substance, but you're getting it from this electronic device. It's nutty.
It is, and you got to know
those places.
Like, you just as soon as you know that truth, you know, like, I can't get my happiness outside of myself. Like, that's when it can become a problem. And that's also, I think, the only way you can become a better individual is if you're doing it for yourself, because that resentment, that significant other, I'm going to quit all these substances just for you, and I'm going to change up my life. It's like, well, as that person's not there, then not only are you going to be depressed about that, but then you're going to use all that crutch was to then just devastate you. So sometimes we have to not actually but actually know whether or not we're setting ourselves up for failure. You know, because if you depend on anyone else outside of yourself, that's when the problems arise. And honestly, to do authentic, powerful magic too, like, once again, kind of stemming from earlier, like, it has to come from within. You can't just be like, oh, everyone online said I should do this ritual. I think I got the pass, you know, or I got enough likes, so I can post this now. It's like, just do you, be authentic with it, and move on. You know, don't stick with it.
Yeah.
Now, what for both of you? We'll start wrapping this up. I'd love to know for you guys to just announce any group workings or next projects coming up, and just anything along those lines that you'd like to plug. And whoever would like to go first, more than welcome to.
Yeah, I'll hit it first, I guess. All right, so I've got a encyclopedia of vampirism coming out Halloween. This is by NB Blackwood. So you can go to becomeliving.com/encyclopedia, and that's really cool. It's got, so he gave me his manuscript. He's been telling me about this book for about a year, and I've been a little scared of it because I'm like, dude, nobody wants to read a fucking encyclopedia. Like, nobody wants that shit. Come on. You might put it on your desk and you'll thumb through it every now and again, but this isn't interesting. He turned in the manuscript a couple weeks ago, and so I looked at it. Thank God it's not an actual like encyclopedia, but it's basically, what he's done is he's gone around the world, physically traveled to different places around the world, and contacted different cults that will worship different undead masters. So Dracula's one of them. You know, what's her name? I can't remember her name now. The one lady that would cover herself in virgin's blood and shit. Bathory.
Bathory, yeah.
Yeah. So like, those are just two of the big names, but he's gone all around the world because every part of the world has one of these figures, one of these vampires that existed at some point. So he goes around the world, finds people that actually have their native understanding of this of these entities, and these sometimes they're entities like gods that they'll worship, sometimes they're people that became vampires. And so he's got like a whole, each chapter is one of them that he highlights one particular undead master, lord or lady, and then gives you full workings from that region, like authentic workings to call these entities up. So wow, that's gonna be badass. That's coming out Halloween. As far as group workings, you know, there's something going on the Discord. I think it's just a small little Discord channel that I'm going to be doing. I'm not presenting this. I'm just going to be taking part in this ritual to call forth King King Mahad. I don't know, might be his name, Mahar. God, I can't remember. It's a Jinn king. I can't remember his name now. So I'm gonna call him this Jinn king. I'm trying to think of what to do because every month over on my Odyssey channel, I do a group ritual, and I'm trying to think of what I'd want to do for like a Halloween group ritual. I don't know. It's a great time. Like the gates are all open, the doors are all open. So I'm not sure what I'll do for that, but yeah, something.
Well, November 1st is, the Day of the Dead, so you could always have an appreciation for the dead. I mean, that's
There we
always.
go. That could actually be really cool. Yeah, do a necromancy ritual and yeah, celebration for the dead. Maybe hold the door open so those who are parted can pass on if they wish to, and yeah, because that's an interesting thing. I'll just throw this out to you guys real quick. It kind of seems weird that like when there's mass deaths, specifically when there's mass deaths, it's a harder time for spirits to move on, and so sometimes like opening doorways, opening portals, and guiding them through that light can actually be really helpful.
That's actually this haunted mansion I just checked out yesterday. We're gonna have a overnight stay and stuff here, and that's something I was kind of asking them, like, why don't these spirits want to go? And the guy said, then they're more than welcome to go, and the gates are open, but these spirits want to stay. And so it does kind of make me feel like maybe they have all that they need inside this mansion. People coming through to see the haunted place, to get the feed off that energy and all that. But yeah, that's a beautiful though. For the Day of the Dead, man, let all the spirits free.
That could be awesome. That could be awesome. Just open the door, and the ones that want to go, you can go. The ones that want to stay, fucking stay. Yeah.
Yeah, have a sick on me. What about you, JD? What you got planned up?
Well, Sarah and I have something coming up on the 13th, which is this Friday the 13th. We're going to DC again, and we're going to be performing this ritual with Asmodeus and Azazel at the Washington Monument. This is something that I've done like 3 times already, so this will be my 4th time anointing it. And so everybody that participates in this, basically I'm going to provide invocation instructions for this as well, but there's like through the magical mysteries that are imbued within that monument, when you connect with it in that way, there is a current called Amatas that you can connect to, and it cloaks your magic. It cloaks you physically, but it definitely cloaks your magic. That's one of the big highlights of this. It protects you like crazy. That monument is protecting this nation, and like that's something that Azazel's been showing me more and more. Like connect with that monument, connect with the power of it, connect with the mysteries of it. It's a big numerology thing as well. So everyone that participates too, I'm going to channel a power number for you that you can use to connect to that current of Amatas and to the power of the monument. And I know this sounds crazy, but this is something that I started doing in February, really when the world started going really, really nutso. The spirits were coming to me and just being like, yo, like you need to do what you can do magically to protect not only yourself, but to protect like our nation, basically. And there's already things in place that do protect our nation and that do cloak what we're doing. Because that's like we're using some pretty ancient Egyptian magic that's like really enshrouded the North American continent anyway. And a lot of things that we do go undetected, and a lot of other countries cannot figure out what the fuck it is that we are doing. And this is part of that. And I don't understand it all, and that's for sure. It's something I've been plugging into since February. But I've gone to the Poseidon monument on Virginia Beach. It's like a 30-foot tall monument of Poseidon, and I've anointed that with my blood several times. I performed ritual there just to protect our coastlines and protect our waters. And then I've been doing the same thing too with the Washington Monument in order to protect me, my family, my loved ones, and just this nation, because I love this place.
Are you able to actually get up and touch the spire? Oh, dude, that's because there's something you said, a couple things that are really important here, because people might be like, the Washington Monument, what the fuck? But first off, Egyptian. Like, why is there an Egyptian fucking monolith in the middle of Washington, D.C.? Because this is the same empire. It's the same empire. And so, like the same power structure has existed even if it's what I would consider to be a hidden empire. It's not like it's the same rulers passing the torch, but it's the same spiritual authority directing this. And so but then also, sacred geometry, like the fact that it's a specific height and specific width, specific angles for specific reasons. It's even, from what I understand with Washington Monument, the way it's angled and positioned is specific with astrology and with so all of this is focused. And then you see, like, what is this? It's a giant spire. You can see it like a lightning rod that's pulling power just down from the heavens into this rod. So
and one of the things too that they were showing me with this, like with any pyramid, with any obelisk that has a point like that, that point, of course, is a point of power, but it's also a calling. It's a calling for an anointing from God to place his finger, him and her, to place their finger upon the tip and anoint it with their blood. And so that's something that that I'm doing, in a ritual manner during that, and it's so cool because it's so crazy. Several people have like Sarah's performed this with me, I think twice. Earl Rackley, Shaman Sorcerer, came out here. He performed it with me, and it is so insane. Like, once you start this right and you, those cloaking, that cloaking magic begins to take effect, you will see that, like, no one even looks at what you're doing. Like, we had a whole black magic ritual going on out there. I've done this several times. No one even looks at you. And like the same thing I have a huge cauldron and a fire pit right out here in my front yard. There's people that walk on the sidewalks and people that drive by. Like, once you initiate that cloaking mechanism, no one even pays any mind to what you're doing whatsoever. And like, it's pretty trippy when you see it, like, in full effect. It's wild. But you can sign up for that, or you can email me at jdtemplehealing@gmail.com. I don't have that on my website. I'm still figuring out how to work that myself because I'm not a tech savvy dude. So the way that my stuff works is you just have to email me. I'll let you know what information I need, and I'll give you the Cash App or the PayPal options, and we'll do the transaction like that. I'll send you the ritual video and the invocation instructions and all that in the email once we're done with it. So yeah,
and I'll put that down below, both of your guys' stuff.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
And I want to be a part of yours too, Al. That's coming up, man. I want to be a part of that.
Dude. What do you got coming up, Al?
So I'm going out to see J.S. Garrett and also do some filming for the Radionics course for next year. Going out there in 2 days. So on the 12th, and everyone has till noon on the 12th to sign up for the kingmanship and queenmanship of whoever signs up. So it's for the Son Tolok and King Beleth, ritual sacrifice to each of them to just empower you on your path and also knowing your vision. So with Son Tolok, it's about giving you that vision to give you that constant wealth growth. But then having King Beleth giving you the path on how to get there. And it's also going to put you in that right energy of royalty to where you understand your self-worth, and then you're going to realize the people around you who are helping you become that king or queen of your life, and then the people who are pulling you down and just trying to keep you down. So it's going to be one hell of a projectile of growing your own empire with a way for continual wealth, not just here's some money here and there, but like actual ways to take you to the place you'd like to. Because, to grow our empire, we have to be able to have all the different facets, from the connections to the direction to the willpower. All these things build what it takes. And this ritual right here is going to be that ritual. And it's actually the ending of a path working for my first pact with King Beleth, and it's gonna be fucking badass. That's all I can say. So
that's cool, dude. I definitely want to be a part of that one. I want to definitely sign up for sure.
Hell yeah.
One thing with Beleth that's interesting. It's interesting that you're including him in this because he can really easily silently destroy obstacles. Like, when I say silently, without you even having to know what those obstacles are, you go to do something, you're like, that's not even a problem. Like, I see this problem was here, it's not there anymore. You just walk fucking freely to where you want to go. He just like opens doors as you walk through them. It's fucking nuts. So
well, instead of being someone knocking on a door, you're just a king able to open the door now.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. A little note, dude, JD, I'm really it does something special to me to hear that Earl Rackley is joining in on that ritual and is working with you, because that guy, he for years, probably like more than a decade, he has been hardcore chasing his ascent, and I've seen some of the stuff. I remember a Beelzebub ritual I did with him that was just off the charts, and then from my vision, because I don't know everything that's going on in that dude's life, just from like making contact with him for different stuff, that Beelzebub ritual just transformed him, and he is just evolved. So that's so cool to hear that he's jumping into these major rituals at this point.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he went to DC with me and performed that rite, and then he came back and I had a shoulder injury for like 5 months, and it fucked my life up for this first half of 2023 was pretty miserable for me, health wise, and it sucked, man, because he was in town and I was hurting. I wasn't feeling good, dude. I was struggling, man, and like. We had just gotten off of like a 3-hour car ride on the way back. It might even been like 4 hours. It was like midnight. I was just ready to fucking heap into bed and call it a day. And he was like, no, dude, like, I need to help you, like, right now. And I was like, right now? And he was like, yes, come in here. So he came in there, he got the ritual set up. He called on Raphael. And he put everything into it, man. It was crazy. He fell the fuck out on the floor and shit at the end of it. I swear, dude, like, he healed my shoulder. And, like, I could not do anything, man. Like, it was really, and for him, for him to as a healer, being able to heal energy and heal emotional pain and move energy and help people to find relief within themselves in that way is one thing, but to heal actual physical pain is a whole nother level, and I was like, dude, like, that was fucking amazing, and so he definitely he's not giving himself credit, and I think that's a lot of us are guilty of that. Most of us are guilty of that, and that's like a big part of, I could see what was standing in his way is him just not seeing, like, look what you're doing, dude, like, you're doing it, like, holy shit,
Dude, I had this dude jump on a consultation with me, and he's all, I really can't see anything. I need to open my vision. I'm like, okay, cool. Tell me about something that maybe you have seen. What's a recent experience of something that you've tried to do? He's like, well, I was trying to summon this some female entity into to summon her and see her through the scrying mirror. I'm like, oh, and you didn't see anything? He's like, no. I saw the light, and then I thought I started to see a woman. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, she was wearing like this kind of bluish white dress that it was like transparent, and her hair was blowing behind her. And, well, dude, you just barely told me you can't see shit. Like, you started this out by telling me you can't see, but you're describing this woman down to the fine detail. And he's like, well, I just didn't think that I had seen her. And I was like, that's the thing. Your mind, your brain starts getting in the way and telling you a story that's not really true. That's why I'm always saying, drop mind, don't think about it, just have the experience. And but I can see the, like, not wanting to take credit, because, like, all of these things are so. I never feel like I do the magic. I feel like the magic comes through me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not like my creation.
That's totally. I mean, I do the black web. I am just a facilitator, kind of like what you're saying with Lilith and the succubi. Like, I'm just a facilitator. Like, I let him have his energy within my temple. We do whatever. Usually everyone, there's something a little bit different I do with every single person, because I'm just doing what I'm told, and then it's done. And then to hear back feedback, wow, there's a change, and how amazing, and like clarity of mind, or whatever the case may be. And to me, I'm just like, wow, like, thank you to the spirit. Now, I'm thankful to myself for fucking doing the work to be able to step up to the plate to do and facilitate, but it's not all me. So it's like, we got to give ourselves credit, and then you got to thank the spirits too. You just slap yourself.
There we go.
I will say, after you did that, the web ritual for me, dude, like, it definitely lifted. I was having major anxiety issues prior to that, and it helped with that a hell of a lot, dude. Like it helped to lift a lot of that. And like, you know, anxiety for a lot of people is one of the big ones that like prevents them from doing anything. You know, like anxiety will shut everything down like that.
Yeah.
And so for people that have a hard time, especially with that, I would definitely say that right will definitely give them relief and help them big time. At least it did for me in my case.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I appreciate
Oh,
that.
dude, yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, I love that. Well, thank you all both for coming on here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop the recording. I just want to ask you both one question real quick. But everyone, be sure to like and subscribe to all of our channels. All the links are down below, and more of these roundtable discussions will be had. So tune in, and thank you all so much. Blessings. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.